As a makeup artist, the first thing that you need to learn on the job is how to do skin well. I'm going to show you how to make full coverage foundation not look full coverage at all and make it look like skin to the point where you look flawless at the same time. Should be undetectable, but you should look perfect and flawless. This is my palette, aka my clean hand. This is a full coverage foundation from Fenty. It is called Pro Filter and the shade is 210. This is a dense brush. This is a Spectrum KJH collab brush number 25. This product is going to get smooshed into the brush very well to the point where you can barely see it on my hand and you can barely see it in the brush, but the brush is tinted with the product. Okay, now we apply. I'm going to do one half of my face just so that you can see the difference of both sides. So I'm just stippling that product on my face that's in the brush in the areas where I have redness or breakouts or little bits that I want to even out from a skin tone perspective. And I'm always starting in the T-zone. Around the nose, around the eyes, pushing it in, not wiping it, not rubbing it, just pushing it into the skin, almost like a blotting motion. So that's step one. This is the before side of my face, after side of my face. This is like a little bit of a warm complexion product for me, but I'm going to show you how to work around that as well. Now I'm going to grab my favorite concealer. This is the Mario Surreal Skin. I use the shade 180. Going back to my palette, which is my hand, warms up the product for you. It's a perfect place to work from. Now I'm going to grab the mini size of this exact same brush. So this is the big one for a wide spatial coverage, quick blending, densing of cream bronzers, blending of cream bronzers, blending of cream blushes, whatever. This is the mini version. This is called the 34. These are both available in the 6-piece kit from KJH and Spectrum. I'm going to take that little swatch of concealer on the back of my hand, massage it or push it or smudge it or smush it or prime it into this brush like your life depends on it. So this first step is kind of like your general evening out step. You don't have to use a full coverage foundation for this. You can use a skin tint, but beware that like your skin tint is going to be even less coverage than this, depending on also what you put under it, what skincare is under it, whether there's SPF there. All of it matters to what the final coverage, final wearability, final longevity will be. This step now is kind of like the refinement step. So I'm going to take this brush that I've primed with the concealer and I'm just going to slowly start to press and tap in areas where I want a little bit more coverage, whether it's around the mouth, whether it's on a little bits of breakouts, whether it's on any hyperpigmentation. You're just going to start to stipple and tap into any areas that you like to conceal. Do not, I repeat, do not go to the fine lines and wrinkles and the eyelids first, because the majority of product will be in the brush. Therefore, the majority of product will be on those areas, and we technically don't need that much coverage in those areas anyway. So I'm really using what's in the brush in flat surfaces first that have the need of coverage before I go to any areas where creasing is very common. Into the nostrils a little bit just there. And now with what's left in this brush and maybe a little bit of what's on the back of my hand, the palm of my hand, I'm going to do the eyelid. So you want just the tiniest amount on the eyelid, because if you do a big thick wedge of concealer and then blend it into the eyelid, I promise you it will crease. It will make all the other makeup that you put on crease, and it just kind of looks unnatural. There's a general rule of which brush is for what thing. Essentially, the denser the brush, the more it's going to sort of push and blot something into the skin, and the bigger the brush, obviously the wider of a space that it's going to fill. I know that's self-explanatory, but a lot of people are always like, what brush is for what? My biggest tip of what brush is for what is if it fits the area that you're using, then that's what it's for, period. Don't overthink it. So then this little refining tool, if you've got red ears and you've got your hair tied back, please do the ears. Do yourself a favor. If you're a makeup artist, please do not overlook the ears if you are doing someone's makeup and their ears are exposed, because if their ears are a different color to their face, it looks mad obvious and it looks really strange in photographs. And here's my before, a little bit red, a little bit blotchy, bits of hyperpigmentation, redness around my nose, uneven complexion, still slight little bits of that, because I personally think that it's nice to have a few of those natural things peeking through, freckles for example, little beauty marks, because otherwise then that limits how natural the makeup looks. It's like there's a balance between something being flawless and something being natural. You want to bridge the gap between both, and I think that this is kind of that sweet spot. You want to see a little bit of the skin and the life that the skin has, whether it be any little sort of fine little lines and wrinkles, which you can't technically conceal with coverage and complexion, but it's just nice to have a few of those little natural things peeking through. Now, on the topic of longevity, what you put under your makeup absolutely controls the wear of your makeup. If you're wearing a serum, an oil, a cream, an SPF, and a sheer tinted complexion product, unless you are hyper dry, then nothing's going to last. So just think about that and then flip it in reverse. If you're oily, you probably don't need any of those things. You probably, if you're oily and your makeup does not last very long at all, you probably need an SPF stick at max with then a matte full coverage concealer or foundation. Just think about how your skin does with complexion products throughout the day and adjust your skincare accordingly. All right, now I'm going to powder this face on this side. A little bit of Tilbury number 1. And I'm actually going to use a flat foundation brush, which is typically used to paint your face with foundation. But actually, these are really good for powdering in a precise way. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of product on both sides of the brush, and then I'm going to slowly just like look at my face and see where the shine is. Just really dissect. So for example, I definitely want to go right there, and I'm just going to gently blot. So think of like blotting sheets or a blotting tool. This is kind of what this is going to do with powder. You just want to gently sweep. A good place to also powder for longevity is around the mouth, just here. Under the nose, inside of the nose. You can use the point of the bristles to get inside of the nose there. Same for the eyelid. You can do that and not have like an overloaded amount of powder. Brushes like this for powder, in my opinion, are a big no-no because they do too much. You don't need as much as what you think you need. So small brushes that have an option to be flat or pointy like this are actually a really, really good result with powdering. So I'm just gently placing my powder, blotting it in, working against where my fine lines are. If you go like that across the fine lines, you might make them more obvious with the powder, whereas if you go backwards, you're sort of pushing the powder into the area as opposed to letting it sit on top. It's the same with big pores. If you've got larger pores on the face, that sounded very aggressive. It was like big pores. If you've got larger, more visible pores on the face, you're going to want to tap into the skin with the complexion as opposed to swipe over the top. So when you swipe over the top, it actually doesn't sit into the pores. You kind of want the product to go into the pores, for lack of a better word. Not really, but you know what I'm saying, hopefully. You just sort of want to just like, because half the time when you're pushing product into the skin like this, you're picking up the excess. You're not really like forcing it into the skin. The skin can only take so much product. So hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully this is interesting. I truly believe that complexion is the most important part of your makeup routine, because I think when the complexion is done well and to a standard of like elegance, elevated chicness, everything else looks cool, even if all of the other things are a bit messy. So there's our before, and here's our after. Does look a little bit flat in areas from powdering, but that will come back through very shortly. And if you want to spritz with a spray, you can. I don't, but just to humor those of you that will be like, oh, what setting spray do you recommend? This would probably be my favorite. This is the Vive Invisiveil setting spray, and I would not hit the center of my face because whatever emollients might be in here for little bits of hydration, they're going to go to my T-zone first. So I'm actually going to go, and the only time that I sort of do my makeup like this, I'm going to just hit it at the side, and I'm going to go up high and let it settle and land on my face as opposed to spray directly on my face. You see? And then I'm done. Hopefully that was helpful or informative, and pop any questions below.